Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a bunch of Call of Duty news to go over, so sit back, grab yourself a cool beverage, maybe a snack, and let's just go ahead and jump into it because there is a lot to get through here in today's video. First things first, this is going to be coming in from the Ghost of Hope, somebody that we've covered countless times here in the channel. He's a bit of an industry insider, bit of a leaker. He's covered a lot of different things in the COD franchise over the years. He's a pretty credible source, and his sources are telling him that the return to Verdansk has actually been incredibly successful for Activision. Here we see his tweet: report, Activision and Raven Software are excited with the numbers they've seen for players returning and playing Warzone after the launch of Verdansk. The update has exceeded expectations. Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Store numbers were, quote, off the charts compared to what they were. They have even seen an uplift in Black Ops 6 sales and downloads because of the update. They are talking about showing more restraint with Warzone for skins, bundles, and microtransactions. Crossovers are, quote, printing money, but they hear the criticism that the game is starting to look stupid. So there's some really interesting news coming from Ghost of Hope right there. We can just tell by looking at Steam charts that the numbers are pretty good so far when it comes to the relaunch of Verdansk. While Steam charts has never shown the entire picture, what it's been very good for is showing trends within the COD franchise, right? I've said that countless times here in the channel, so much so that it's almost annoying to even say because I say it in almost every video, but sometimes you have to repeat yourself. Trends on one platform are indicative of trends on other platforms, and so when you see COD going down the toilet on Steam, that's indicative of it happening on all platforms as well. And with the relaunch of Verdansk, when you see the player count doubling, even the average player count doubling on Steam, well, that's also pretty indicative that good things are happening on other platforms, right? They say that the Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Store numbers are off the charts. They're also claiming there's an uplift in sales and downloads because of the update for Black Ops 6, although that aspect right there I'm a bit confused about, because it is important to note that right now, and as for the past couple of days, all of Call of Duty is on a free trial mode right now. Like everything, the full multiplayer, the full zombies experience, of course Warzone's always free, therefore everything in COD right now is free. And so when I hear things like there's an uplift in Black Ops 6 downloads, I take that with a pinch of salt, but no doubt the player numbers have been good so far for the relaunch of Verdansk. We haven't seen too much indicating that the actual Black Ops 6 multiplayer is really doing all that well. I mean, just looking at the numbers for the launch day of Season 3, the numbers didn't change at all, despite the fact that we had the new maps, the new zombies map, the new multiplayer weapons, the battle pass, the update, and all that stuff. You know, it's been the same song and dance ever since the launch of Black Ops 6. Like, fans just don't seem all that interested in the core Black Ops 6 multiplayer, and of course that would likely be due to skill-based matchmaking and the years of manipulation and everything sort of just catching up to Activision all at once. I have seen other content creators saying, you know, Black Ops 6 is not that bad of a game. Why all the hate this year? Why all the problems this year? Like, why is skill-based matchmaking suddenly an issue? It's not. Skill-based matchmaking has always been an issue. Activision's manipulation has always been an issue. It just came to a pass and culminated here in Black Ops 6. Years of dealing with Activision's bullshit has finally caught up to them, and fans are just burnt out. It's not necessarily that Black Ops 6 is a bad game gameplay-wise. The maps, while they're not amazing or anything, are serviceable at best. The multiplayer weapons are fine. You know, there's nothing inherently wrong with Black Ops 6, especially compared to other skill-based matchmaking / Warzone era games. You know, you compare Black Ops 6 to, you know, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, going back to Modern Warfare 2019, even Vanguard and Cold War. There's something inherently wrong or different with Black Ops 6. It's just that after 5+ years of dealing with this stuff, fans are fed up. They're tired of it, you know, and so we saw the player numbers going down and down, and just overall interest in the game going down the toilet as well, which is a bit more difficult to prove, but the average number of people on Reddit, the average number of people talking about the game on social media, maybe viewership on Twitch or even YouTube videos, like interest in Black Ops 6, the core multiplayer itself, is in the toilet this year, which is what caused them to relaunch Verdansk in the first place. And to Activision's credit, it was the right move. I think a lot of us were very speculative as to whether or not this was going to move the needle whatsoever, and it has. There are a metric shit ton of people who are excited to go back to Verdansk. They're excited to play Warzone and everything. The problem still remains, however, where the multiplayer is kind of an afterthought, and that is not where fans wanted to be almost 6 years after Warzone was first implemented. When they first implemented Warzone, it kind of seemed like multiplayer took a back seat to the free-to-play Battle Royale experience, and here we are all these years later where they're just able to go back and relaunch the same map from 2020 and put multiplayer fans back in the same boat they were all of those years ago. I would like to see a reality where they do start to focus more on the multiplayer experience, because at the end of the day, that is what sells Call of Duty every single year. You know, they're so hell-bent on selling that new title every year, that $70 price tag, or possibly now $80 or $90 price tag with the tariffs and everything going on with Nintendo and everything. You know, things could get crazy for COD, and if something doesn't change about the core multiplayer experience to get fans excited about it once again, then they're just going to have to continue to heavily lean into Warzone, which is is the opposite direction of where old school COD fans want the franchise to be. Going back to Ghost of Hope's report right there, it says they are talking about showing more restraint with Warzone for skins, bundles, and microtransactions. Crossovers are, quote, printing money, but they hear the criticism that the game is starting to look stupid. I don't understand that aspect either, because when has Activision ever said, we are making too much money, we should stop doing the thing that's making us all the money? You know, that's the reason why, in their minds, skill-based matchmaking is a good thing. It's good for the player base, it's good for them making money. That's ultimately what it comes down to. They have their own internal data, we may disagree with it, but they believe that skill-based matchmaking is good for the franchise, therefore it's going to be here come hell or high water. They're never going to move off of that. And when it comes to all these crazy skins in the shop and all the nonsense that you see in your game, if it's making them so much money, quote-unquote printing money even, according to Ghost of Hope's report, then why should we ever anticipate them changing anything? If anything, Activision is known for doubling down on this kind of thing. I mean, for crying out loud, there are multiple shark skins in the shop right now where you can run around and look like a freaking shark or like a hammerhead shark. Like, there's multiple different kinds of sharks now, if that's what you want. There are countless anime waifu bundles and bullshit. There's the freaking Ninja Turtles and then the collaborations with Squid Game and all that. Like, Call of Duty, and we talked about it many times, is going through an identity crisis. They basically want to be like Fortnite light. They want to be like Fortnite for people over 14. You know, that's kind of like what they're going for, and it's working for them. I don't see them ever changing anything until they stop making money from all these ridiculous bundles. I mean, case in point here, the freaking Terminator skin, right? You could argue that a Terminator skin might fit within like the Black Ops vibe in the 90s and all that stuff, right? But the Terminator skin, the problem with it is it's a very much pay-to-win skin. It's hard to see. The model seems ridiculously skinny, despite the fact that all models are the same. It still has the same hitbox, but just it looks and kind of feels like it has a different hitbox based on how it appears. And right now, that particular skin is running rampant within Verdansk. You basically can't see it. It's really hard to hit. It's a plague right now, right? And reportedly, they nerfed the skin, quote unquote, to make it easier to see and easier to hit and all that stuff, you know, but it doesn't seem like anything's happened whatsoever. Hunter TV, who makes incredible YouTube videos, he posted these images here showing the before and after changes of the Terminator skin, and as you guys can see, there's virtually no difference. Like, we have images here of the skin in the dark, we have images in the light. The before and after is negligible. It really is. And maybe it's a bit better in multiplayer, maybe things work out a bit better in multiplayer, but at least in Warzone, the changes did virtually nothing. It's still very much a pay-to-win skin, and with Activision, quote, printing money with skins, bundles, microtransactions, and crossovers, I don't see stuff like this stopping anytime soon. Now, one other skin that's been causing a bit of controversy here within the community would be the Verdansk safe skin because of its ridiculous drop rate. So we knew about this skin going into the relaunch of Verdansk. They told us about it ahead of time. Basically, it was going to be a rare skin you got for opening safes on Verdansk. The thing is, they didn't tell us exactly what that drop rate was going to be, and reportedly, according to the game files, the drop rate of this particular skin was 1 in 10,000, which is freaking absurd and mind-boggling to think about. Like, I was going for this skin myself, just kind of messing around, and then I seen JGod on Twitter saying he was over 2,000 safes into the event and still never got the skin. That is absurd. That is like actually crazy, and that's coming from somebody who enjoys games like World of Warcraft or Diablo or whatever, where sometimes you have to farm a particular boss over and over and over, and then hopefully eventually you get lucky because there's a very low drop rate of you getting a mount or a transmog or a weapon. I understand that. I've grinded those games to death in my lifetime, but to have a skin like that in the COD franchise where for only, how long, 9 or 10 days the event is out and you have to find these very specific safes on the map, and every time you open the safe you have a 1 in 10,000 chance of getting a skin. I mean, that's just straight up manipulative right there, man. That is just like artificially increasing your player retention, and just, it's grindy for the sake of being grindy. And Activision themselves have not acknowledged it, but apparently they went through yesterday on April 8th and they gave a stealth buff to the drop rate of the skin. We don't know the exact numbers as of right now, but it seems to be a lot better than 1 in 10,000. For me personally, it took maybe 25 safes. For my buddies, it took like 4 or 5 safes. You know, it wasn't really hard to get whatsoever. So before, it was like the rarest skin in the history of Warzone. Now, it's still going to be relatively rare because you have to actually go out your way and find these safes and hunt them down, and the drop rate is not super high or anything, but if you dedicate yourself a little bit, you'll be able to get the skin before the event ends. I think that's a much better way of going about it. I'm not sure if they intentionally made the drop rate 1 in 10,000. It certainly seems like something Activision would do, like make it so the skin is like virtually impossible to get. But given the nature of the COD franchise and the millions of people that play this series, you know, if someone's going to get that skin, they're going to post about it online. People are going to see that. They're going to go hunting the skin for themselves. They're going to realize the drop rate is really low, but therefore they're going to keep on going and going and going because they want to get the rare thing. Like, I definitely think it was a bit of manipulation there, but I think after maybe, how long was it, 4 or 5 days there, they realized, okay, the drop rate is like really freaking low. People are starting to get mad about it. People are going to start calling us out on it. So let's go ahead and push through an update to make it a little bit easier to get. But yeah, that entire skin was definitely a bit of controversy here within the COD franchise. Moving along here, another bit of controversy that people have been wondering about for a while. The COD Updates Twitter has let us know that the base blueprint swap feature is now scheduled to arrive later within Season 3. If you guys recall, that was in the patch notes going into Season 3, saying there's going to be a feature where basically you could swap around a bunch of different aspects of your blueprints. So, for example, you could use a foregrip from one blueprint on your gun while using a stock from a different blueprint on another, and basically create your own amalgamation of nonsense on your weapon, essentially, just combining all sorts of different blueprints into one very unique looking gun. That was in the patch notes for Season 3. It was supposed to be here at Season 3, but then it wasn't, and then they sneakily went in and removed that feature from the patch notes. I don't know what's going on. Maybe they're just not able to get it working properly, but regardless, they claim that now it will still be coming later on in Season 3. We just don't have a release date. It just, I don't know. It's a feature that they're having a hard time getting implemented, but they finally, after all this time, have spoken about the feature after they secretly removed it from the Season 3 patch notes. And to wrap things up here today, ladies and gentlemen, just a small little bit of news, but interesting-ish news, I suppose, if you play on Xbox or PC. Well, back in February, the PlayStation Plus pack was released, and it gave a bunch of content exclusively to PlayStation users. We're talking about 2 different operator skins, we're talking about 3 different weapon skins, I think 2 emotes, and a whole bunch of other stuff, right? It was only available for PlayStation users, which was weird, because going into Black Ops 6, after Microsoft acquired everything, Phil Spencer said there was going to be no more exclusivity within the COD franchise. Everybody was going to get the same content at the same time, yet for some reason, PlayStation people got access to a couple free bundles, whereas nobody else did, which was really freaking weird. Well, now that same bundle is going to be available for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate users as well as PC Game Pass users. And yeah, we get the exact same content. I signed in today onto my Xbox, and they don't even let you know that you got all this stuff. You have to go through and manually check your operators, manually check your weapon blueprints and everything, which is just really frustrating, honestly. Like, why don't you say, hey, here's all your free shit, here's where it is, now you know about it, because otherwise a bunch of people are gonna have no freaking idea they even have access to any of these blueprints or operator skins or emotes or anything like that. So it's definitely a bit weird, but ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be it for this little news roundup here today, covering the news coming in from the Ghost of Hope, as well as the COD Updates Twitter, talking about the Verdansk Safe Skin. The PlayStation Plus pack is now available to Xbox Game Pass and PC Game Pass users, as well as the Terminator nerfs and everything. Just, I don't know, man. Going into this, we were all very speculative and very interested to see what was going to happen when they, you know, put all their eggs into the Verdansk basket and see if it was actually going to pay off. Well, so far, honestly, it seems to be, and I see a lot of you in the comments, and I tend to agree as well, saying that nostalgia is eventually going to wear off. How long can they just piggyback off an old map from 2020, you know? And I think that's true. We're only a week or so into Verdansk right now, but I said during the launch day, and I'll reiterate it here once again, I figured 1 week would be all we need to know as to whether or not the update is actually going to be good for the franchise, whether or not it's going to bring back a bunch of players and everything. And it's been about a week as of right now, and the player count is still roughly doubled compared to what it was prior to the release of Verdansk. So it does seem to be a success. And as always, I'll be here with you guys every step of the way as we continue forward here and monitor the player counts and monitor the updates and the news and the information and all that stuff. So be sure to sub to the channel if you guys haven't already. I hope you enjoyed this news update video here today. Leave your thoughts and feedback down there in the comments. Thank you all so much for listening and for your continued support of my channel, and I hope you guys all have a wonderful day.